Welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And today we are getting into this AUBKN ceramic fan heater. Don't mind the TV sounds in the background. Now, we'll quickly go over the box here. It says model PTC 150B. And it's a ceramic fan heater. Now, we reviewed a set like this before, a double set on the channel before, and it was actually really popular. And so purchased another one because it was in need of another one. So just going over some of the details here. It says easy, I'm going to read it off the screen. Easy to use touch controls, 1,500 watt plus fan only. Not sure what that means when it says plus fan only. It does have the automatic where it shuts off, so automatic overheat protection system and safety tip over switch, so it protects for being overheating as well, which is something different, but the whole falling over. And then the overheated protection. So this is very similar to the Omni. When I did a search for the Omni heaters, which I reviewed on the channel before, this is one of the ones that popped up because the Omni ones are not, I bought it at Costco, but they weren't for sale on Amazon. And I remember when I did that video, I'll put a link in the description of similar fans. There was one that was a little bit more pricey. This one right here goes for $23. So if you want something similar to those ones that I reviewed, this one should fall within that same realm. Here go some more details on it. 1500 watt plus fan only, energy efficient PTC technology, easy to use touch controls, which should be similar to the ones that are on the Omni that I reviewed, I'm gonna assume, but we're gonna get into it. Compact space saving design, automatic overheat protection system and safety tip over switch, large carry handle. So it should be, for the most part, that similar type. Let's see about the different modes that this has. So let's get into this now. And this is going to be, let's see if this is very similar in the design of that one, because I used to have heaters that had more of like a switch. And if you look back at that video with the Omni one, that you'll see I had compared it to some of the features of the older dial type of designs where you move the dial. And these have more of a touch sensitive controls. So it's definitely a different vibe completely. So similar to the Omni one, but I'm not saying different from the Omni one, different from the older ones that I was used to, or maybe you guys are used to if you guys been using that type. So, got some basic packaging stuff. We've got here your instructions. So let's just take a quick little glance at this really quick before we jump into anything. Power rating, 1500. Says control panel. I'll make sure that you guys are able to see this as well. Control panel, LED display, remote receiver, because this one allows for a remote. The handle is built into it, similar to the Omni ones. Air vent, air inlet, and power and plug. So we got the power button, eco. Let's see, modes. We've got power heat, so it says touch to cycle through. It says the star icon, eco, and then fan. Power heat with 3 heat levels. Eco, the heater operates with the set temperature as the target. Once the set temperature is reached, the heater will suspend heat when ambient temperature. So this uses a heat setting, which is like the thermostat, to reach, and it has 3 heat settings, H1, H2, and H3. What's interesting is the Omni had an eco, and then it had 3 additional settings, but the eco was one of the heat settings. So it's kind of interesting in that regard of how that worked. So this one's a little bit different. Okay, so we have it plugged in. So let's kind of just go over some of these things. So I'm going to turn that on. That is the heat. We are on setting H3. I'm going to press this, and that says eco, fan only. So, okay, so it seems to be an on and then eco, and I don't know. So eco is a third setting unto itself. Not a third setting, I'm sorry, a fourth setting unto itself, I guess. This is regular heat on, and that says H3, that says H1. And then eco goes to town. Oh, okay. All right. So now I understand. And maybe this will give better insight to how the Omni worked. I was a little confused for the first time because the old designs with the clicks and dials and switches worked differently. It has a 22-second cutoff timer as you see it dialed down. So this is very similar to the Omni one. Now I understand. So on the previous old ones with dials, it didn't matter if you were in H1 or H2, which was like low and high setting. What would happen is it going off of the temperature was only, you could do that on the dial ones on H1 or H2, both could be turned off by the dial. So say if you set it, it was just a dial, so you didn't know what the temperature was, but let's say hypothetically you set it for 70 degrees, it would turn off when the room hit 70 degrees and turn back on when it got below 70 degrees. This seems to be where H1 to H3 are all steady settings, and I'm gonna assume the echo, since that's the only one that gives you the feature to do the time, echo is the one where you're setting the temperature and it's going based on the temperature. So as I had read here, and I'm gonna read through this whole thing right here. So it says right here, on the regular power sign, you have power, heat with 3 heating levels, and it's 7,000 watts, 1,000 watts, and 1,500 watts. And then it says the heater operates for eco. The heater operates with the set temperature as target. Once the set temperature is reached, the heater will suspend heating. When the ambient temperature drops below the set temperature, the heat will resume operation. Set temperature range from 41 to 95. And then it says, note, when the ambient temperature reaches the set temperature, the heater will turn off automatically in 22 seconds. When the ambient temperature drops below the set temperature, the heater will operate on medium or high power, which is 1,000 or 1,500 watts, depending on the difference between the two temperatures. When the set temperature is lower than the room temperature, the temperature set to low indicator will flash and heater will suspend heating. It will automatically resume heat once the room temperature drops below the set temperature. Additionally, you can increase the set temperature according to your thermal requirements. And then fan only activates fan only mode without enabling heat. So it's just blowing stuff around. Mute, unmute, turn on and off the button sound. Okay, we don't care about that. Auto off, there's a little timer button. When the heater is on, touch the set timer and it goes from 0 to 12 hours after the timer. So a timer thing, that's basic. Heat level temperature. In power heat mode, touch plus or minus to adjust the heating level, and that brings it from H1, H2, H3. And this is an eco mode, touch that to adjust the temperature. So as I mentioned before, it goes into more of a temperature setting in eco and the other ones don't, which is different than the older conventional ones. So it says, note, in eco mode, the heater will turn off automatically when the set temperature has been reached. If your heater turns off frequently, please raise the set temperature or switch to power heat mode. So that pretty much is a lot more straightforward, I would say, than the Omni one in terms of just kind of giving you what you want, because the Omni one was a little bit confusing and I don't think it really described that eco was based on setting the temperature, nor is setting the temperature high and low. You can do that in any of the modes, because the way the other one works, the Omni, is it goes when you press the menu button or the mode button, it goes from echo, then H1, then H2, then H3, and you can set the temperature in all of those modes. Where this one, it's more designed for just eco mode, to be that. And these are what the icons will look like on the front. That just lets you know it's plugged in, because when you have these type of ones where it's touch like this rather than a dial, you may not know that it's on because you're not moving a dial where it says on when it's plugged in. So that's why they do that kind of icon. So just running through things again. Turn it on. We're in eco mode. I'm gonna come down into the temperature. It's probably not going to shut off because it still probably needs time to read the temperature of the room. I'm going to assume that's why. Temp set too low is what it says. So it's blinking. You may not be able to see that. Let me cut the light a little bit. You see that? It's saying temp set too low is what it's blinking. So I think it's saying that to say that it's going to shut off, probably. So what I will say about this, besides for obviously, if it looks like it's designed very similar to the Omni. So in that case, I think the quality is great. What makes this really good too, the price of the Omni, I don't remember what I paid in Costco, but I remember looking it up on Costco's price recently, and it's $50 for the 2-pack. This runs you at $23. So this is actually a really good deal. Now, with that being said, and the features that you get, I think these features are a little more streamlined and simple than the way the Omni is. So in that regards, I will say that I think this is maybe a better purchase just in the regards to the simplicity of it, as not only did I fully not understand how that one worked. I'm gonna turn a little sideways because the heat's pouring on me. But in addition to that, a lot of people who were watching the video who purchased it said they weren't really too sure how, like, why wouldn't it shut off with the temperature gauge and all those other kind of things. So I think it's a little kind of wonky when it comes to that. This is a little more straightforward because, you know, only in eco mode are you getting that feature. Now, it's not turning off now, but it did indicate the flashing light of that. It was, let me turn it this way so that way if we see that thing coming again, it did indicate that the temperature was too low. So, and it's doing it again now. So that I think is a sign that it will turn off if need be. Now coming from eco mode, we come to, that was fan only, then we went back to H1, which is the low setting of heat. I'm sorry, we're supposed to now use the plus and minus on this setting to go which one we want. So that's H1, H2, H3. Now, a lot of times when I'm using the heater of the Omni, I just use Echo. I use Echo most of the time. Eco, I keep saying Echo, I'm sorry. I'm just reading it as just the ECO, but Echo mode. And I do that because I think it uses less temperature in general. I don't think it's outputting as much heat, but sometimes I'll do H1. This one's a lot more, I feel, clear on what it's doing. So I think this makes more sense to know what you're using as opposed to the Omni. Now, I'm going to be actually giving this away to family. So I'm not going to be able to use it again for comparison purposes. But I do think that the features on this seem a lot more clear and straightforward, less confusion. The button layout also, I think, is a little, let me turn this off, is a little streamlined as well. Sorry about that, a little bit of distraction. So the buttons seem to be streamlined. I didn't even realize too that the handle actually goes through. So that's actually really good because on the Omni, it's an indentation, but it doesn't come through. So you can't wrap your fingers around it. But I think the button layout is a little more streamlined than the Omni. So for the most part, they're the same thing, but the Omni has it straight across. And there's something about this that seems like a more cleaner, pronounced setup, at least the way I'm looking at it right now. But maybe it's because I'm used to seeing the Omni in the dark. But anyway, you guys, I think this and the Omni should be just as equally as good as each other. One thing that it is missing though on it, this one is missing the ability to wrap the, so this does not have, even though this is just a bonus feature, it does not have where you would wrap the cord around, which the Omni did have, where you could pull out and wrap the cord around. I'm going to attach the link in the description for not only this product, but also my Omni review. So that way you guys could check that out as a comparison and get an idea. Like I said, that one's at Costco as a double pack. I do remember seeing at one point in time a single one of those, if I'm not mistaken, on Amazon, I think, but I don't see it anymore. So I don't remember if my memory's mistaken or not. But this is what I found the most affordable alternative to that, being that you don't have that on Amazon currently. And this is definitely a good option. Now, I put a link in the description for the Omni review of one that was like $40. I think this is actually a better one. I don't know all the features that are in that one, but price wise, this one's giving you essentially the same thing as the Omni ones for a little bit cheaper. So two of these will cost less than with the two pack of the Omni one, which is $50. So, but with that being said, you guys, I hope the differences were explained well, so you guys can like understand how the eco mode works on this one versus the other one and whatnot. All right, you guys, so just to reiterate, links in the description down below for this. Sorry, you guys got another distraction. As I was saying, links in the description down below for this. Link's going to be description down below for the Omni review, and link's going to be description down below. And as always, you guys, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.